Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to the Lord of the Rings adventure card game, Definitive Edition. Quite a mouthful there. It's been a while since I last played, so we had done like the tutorial up to everything here. But there would be a reason to potentially do this tutorial a third time and get 1,000 fellowship points. And then we had done this solo adventure, which went forever, and we got all the rewards here, except for we didn't hold the East Bank for 4 rounds, which maybe there's something to that idea to trying that again. But first and foremost, we need to do the campaigns. So, as far as the campaign goes, Shadow's Reach would be the one to start with. If we do that, we get some kind of reward. It's kind of pointless to just have a lock over there. It certainly would motivate more people if you knew what you could unlock by actually doing it. It's definitely feels like there's 5 quests here. So, is each one of these quests going to be an hour long, or is each one of these quests just going to be like 10-15 minutes long? I wouldn't be surprised if they're an hour long and we have like 5 hours just to do this one quest. If that is the case, then you also have potentially 5 hours here and then potentially 5 hours here. So that could be 15 hours of gameplay, which, since this game is going kind of slow, that's all very believable. Still no real reason why I'd ever want to increase the difficulty unless there was some kind of increased reward for increased difficulty, which the game should tell me that if that was the case. And then as far as deck selections, I think what we probably want to do is just stick with the starter deck and see if we can get through all of these challenges with the starter deck.
After arriving at Beyond's Hall, you've learned the famous Bilbo Baggins was taken by Mirkwood spiders mere hours ago. Without hesitation, you volunteer to find and retrieve the Hobbit, hopefully before he's consumed, or worse. And so you find yourself before Greenwood the Great, that the wary and the wise call Mirkwood. A sleeping evil once inhabited the Greenwood, but was purged many years ago. The forest has since known a period of peace and the return of wholesome life. As the shadows now gather under the trees, you sense a foulness on the air. You fear evil may have returned to this realm.
Now, what's weird about this, as far as the story, is it seems to me like we're just doing the exact same scenario we did in the tutorial, but this is different text.
You begin to search for clues as to which direction the spiders took Bilbo. There are ample signs of recent struggle in the small glade, and several of the Hobbit's possessions are strewn about. After a few moments, you notice a gleam of metal on the forest floor. Perhaps a sign. You're about to investigate, as several giant spiders creep into the glade. They don't seem at all interested in assisting the search. Quite the contrary.
So maybe you're playing as a different character from a different perspective here, but also it seems just like in the Lord of the Rings universe you have orcs and then you have spiders and wolves and bats, and that's it. Where it probably for a video game would make a lot of sense to have a third character class of enemies, if not a fourth or fifth.
If by life or death I can save you, I will.
A gift.
This is the
I will go and
second.
look for the halls of Durin.
This is the first time, actually, that we've started with somebody that, what am I trying to say? This is the first time we've had 2 paragraphs of text at the beginning. Okay. Now, in card games, it's often useful to be able to hide the pop-up so you could see. So since I didn't catch really quickly who the enemies are, a sneak attack this turn is probably not worth as much as I would think, but I'll stick on to it just in case. Resolve Glint of Steel or defeat every enemy in play. So, enemies, examine the strange gleam under the leaves. Okay. Okay. Now if I do Surge, then I could play another card, but it wouldn't work. It's probably best to do this. And then probably best to just attack with that. Okay. I'm noticing in the audio, so I'm gonna probably go a little bit quieter at the moment. That we've got the cricket sound effect playing quite a bit in the background audio. Okay. So Sauron's turn, he passes. Just then lets me do this. Which then lets me do this. And we basically will win the next turn anyway, so it makes a lot of sense to just kill things. You'd have to do something kind of crazy. Yeah, you'd have to do something kind of crazy to mess up here. Juice minions attack to 0 this round. Reduce 1 minion's attack to 0. So you do that. Lying on the first floor is a small elven blade, beautiful, strong, and light. This must be Bilbo's sword Sting, a very valuable treasure. So you've completed the goal for this location. Travel now to avoid the looming threat. Okay. So we have a weapon here we could equip to something. Or we could just kill. Nobody has, I think, a ranged attack. So we couldn't kill somebody even if we wanted to. We can do that. And then that kills that guy. And then free action to ready this guy, so equip him. Go ahead. Probably not spend the money. Yeah, it's not really worth it to spend the money at the moment, so kill that, then travel. The idea there being that, unless I've forgotten,
Bilbo's
this
mind
works,
must have been
that
clear during the first
enemy
moments
probably
after
would
his
have
capture.
traveled with me.
You notice that he slid his sword along the undergrowth as he was hauled away. When the spider's poison immobilized him, he must have dropped Sting. Encouraged, you venture into the shadowy green-grey wilderness that is Mirkwood.
That's lesser dialogue.
The small cocoon is dropped before the lady.
Eat it, milady. Scrumptious it is. Tasty, sweet.
The skinny creature squeals in pleasure and anticipation, jumping to and fro on arms and legs as if a spider himself. The creature gives the cocoon a kick.
False it is. Baggins, trickster, thief, cheater. Eats it. Eats it.
The enormous spider moves to hover over the cocoon. Spear-sized mandibles emerge slowly from its dripping maw.
Suck it to bones, milady. No hangingness or dryingness needed. Not like tough dwarfs or tricky elves. Sweet and juicy habits. Just leave closes, milady. Oh. For precious is in its pockets, my precious.
The spider monstrosity is about to delve into her meal, when a sudden noise is heard from the edge of the lair. Flapping its hands nervously and bobbing its scrawny neck, the creature pleads.
Don't listen to woodsy noises, milady. Eat, while habit is warms.
Someone has arrived, and the spiders move to greet them.
So now we have a different narrator because this is taking place in a different location, or because they lost their first narrator. It almost feels like now that we're getting two paragraphs on separate pages, like they either had extra art or they had random events that are occurring, but none of this feels random, and the extra art argument doesn't feel that believable either.
For hours you delve into the menacing forest. Thorny undergrowth and sticky crawlers grab at you as if with minds of their own. A subtle change in the echo of the wood heralds a change in scenery, and you soon come upon a dark, gurgling stream. While the watery smells and soothing sounds relax you, you've been warned not to trust any water in Mirkwood, save for that gathered from fresh rain. The spiders must have crossed the stream by traversing the canopies above, but how will you cross? A nearby dead tree may be the answer. You attempt to push at the dry trunk, hoping for it to fall and bridge the stream. Unfortunately, your efforts attract the local wildlife.
See, and I wonder if this is exactly how the Lord of the Rings novel works too, is that you're jumping around from different characters telling different stories, which that's how a lot of books go, certainly, and it's just not something I am comfortable with or familiar with, really. Like, I much prefer the video game way of telling a narration, which is to almost 100% always focus on the main protagonist and tell the story in an almost always linear fashion. There are the occasional cutscenes where you jump and see an enemy and they just try to introduce the big bad, but those are very rare. You don't have an entire paragraph following one protagonist and then another paragraph following a different protagonist in a different area. And that was like 4 paragraphs of dialogue, which it definitely feels like they may just be stretching. Push over the tree bridge. Alright. Okay, so put this guy in defense mode. Then he has to attack with that. It looks like we probably have to push over. the tree bridge or push over the blocked path. Well, this looks like this may be actually locked anyways. Okay. So, if I played this, I'd have a range and I could attack. Does make some sense to do that. If I play this, I could do that. If I played this. Self-preservation on this guy, so he heals himself once. Makes some sense. Do this. Reduce every allies by 0. Okay, well, I think that clearly makes it obvious what I'm supposed to do next. Deal 1 damage to every hero. Kill that. Let's go ahead with a sneak attack. That did nothing really for us. We really don't want to spend that point, so I think we have to just end our fate. And see, I've totally kind of forgotten about, like, these things. Yeah. I've spent a few days focusing on some other things, working towards a more automated process as far as uploading these pre-recorded videos, which in theory in the long run would allow me to move towards having more free time to record more of this stuff, but it is definitely a situation where the more you prepare for something up front, the more work you put up front, the hope is that then that you'll spend less time in the long run, but you have to certainly question whether that's really true or not. And sometimes it isn't true. Sometimes you spend a lot of energy thinking it will save you time in the long run, and it doesn't.
Run them down!
Yeah. So yeah, I've kind of forgotten the general strategies
falls
here.
across the stream with a splintery crack.
Not
You
that it
use the
seems to
fallen
matter
trunk to
too
step
much.
across, careful to not slip. What could cause wild creatures to attack so? Perhaps the corrupted stream is their main source of water. As you jump off the trunk on the far side, a deep rumble greets you. For a brief moment you wonder what could make such a sound, but only for a brief moment. For out of the shadows shambles an enormous black bear. It roars. The sound is staggering. It fills the air like a living thing, terrifying and primordial. The impact of the roar sends you reeling backwards, almost into the stream. It charges, an avalanche of fur, teeth, and claws.
Effectively, we are just being told a story of walking through the forest. A very dangerous forest. So we need to defeat Kyrios. I guess they have special names for everything, don't they? Let's see. Exhaust any charge that Kyrios attacks. Exhaust any character that Kyrios attacks. Okay. Grant +1 attack to every spider. The Brood Elder. Okay. We're just supposed to kill this guy, so in a lot of ways it would just make a lot of sense to just attack, attack, attack. Let's see. Reduce 1 minion. 0 attack this round. This is not a minion, I guess. Warrior sword. I guess on this character. +2 attack back to that. Right, well, we'll just play a guard character. And that effectively solves that problem. So then you attack here. He's playing a rat, which we haven't seen rats before. I don't think. Deal 1 damage to random character and restore 1 health. Honestly, I just don't think I care enough.
He cannot stand alone.
Yeah, I mean, you just win this one turn. We complete the goal for this location. Travel now to avoid the looming threat. So I'm just going to attack here. And then I'm going to travel. And then we'll see if any of this crosses over to the next area.
Before the
I don't even know when this story is going to really
come
end.
upon a sudden clearing. The sluggish
It could be
breeze and
when we
one grey
save
light
Bilbo.
of the dell are a welcome
It could just
change
be
from the humid twilight of the
after
forest.
several of these
On the
sections.
far side of the clearing, you spy what you've been looking for. A group of large spiders hovering over a tightly wound cocoon. It's time for a rescue.
Clearly, if this is a real-world card game, it feels like, particularly in the digital version, it's being sold as more of a here's a story that has a game attached to it, where ideally you'd almost want randomization to happen and have something that couldn't really be in a story with named characters or named places. It would be more just like you roll a dice, and when you roll the dice there's a chance of a spider or an orc attacking you. I think, yeah, you would have to get closer to something like that in the card game, or you would have to have just a lot more writers in a digital version of this game. Mostly, I think what I find kind of dull about this is it seems to me like this is just copy and pasted from the Lord of the Rings universe and the Lord of the Rings book. I don't think there's a lot of new content happening here. Final encounter, defeat 6 enemy units or defeat every enemy unit in play. Interesting. Thrashing cocoon, a thick cocoon jerks wildly, side to side slash at its strands. to free the occupant. Okay, so I'd give us another hero. Then we've got 2 guard characters. So this is going to be about 30 minutes long for this whole run. I looked at the achievements and I don't really remember what I saw too much, but it does seem like playing Gandalf is definitely one of them, although there does seem like there's just a lot of achievements in general. Deal 3 damage. Is there any way we can get away from this without just killing everything? Or could we bring Gandalf into the fold? And Gandalf being a card, like these other hero cards, definitely changes the narrative and story a little bit. I guess we just attack that. And then... Guess we have to attack this. Then I guess you killed that. Now we're down to defeating 5 enemies. Use that. So I've just gotten an achievement for using a power 25 times.
He cannot stand alone.
Let's go ahead and put this on the ground, I guess. Oh, he just refilled all of that. Interesting. So you may have a way of making it very difficult to actually win. Exhaust the next enemy that enters play. Doesn't sound like the worst idea. So that worked out well. Okay. So can we do 7 damage here? Yes, I think we can. Because we do this, then we do this, then we use the power, and we do this.
No man.
Trouble? I can help with that.
You tear into the... I can't read that word. Text is too small. The large cocoon. Much to your disappointment, but not to his. The cocoon contains not Bilbo, but a brawling by the name of Wilth. I can't read any of that. It's just too small from 8 feet away. So we've got somebody with stalwart here, and he can take something else out nicely. Which stalwart lets me just kill things.
The lady and her brood are gathered at the edge of their lair. A band of orcs and goblins have emerged from the trees. Some heave empty wagons, others carry torches. A huge orc trumps to stand before the lady.
Oh, the moon is full, Spidey. Uthak comes to collect.
He snarls. The lady chitters at her lieutenants who rush back into the webs. The spiders soon return with web-wrapped cocoons, depositing them in front of the orc captain. Goblins rush to gather the cocoons, loading them into carts. As the last cocoons are loaded, a hooded goblin begins screeching at Uthak, pointing to a parchment full of hash marks. Uthak glares at the yelling goblin for a moment, and blinks and pivots back to the lady.
We won short, lady.
The orc's grainy voice is mild, but laced with promise of violence.
Cold masters don't like short. Uthak don't like short. We had deal.
Okay, I don't know how much this dialogue really matters to us, or how that sets up the next fight, but okay.
After recovering, Will Elk thanked you profusely. Over the past few months, he tells you, a number of tribesmen have gone mysteriously absent. He suspects they've fallen prey to similar circumstances, but offers no explanation as to why the great spiders have suddenly become so daring. Afraid to return home through the forest alone, Will Elk offers to join you, and suggests which direction the spiders were taking him. Somewhere under the never-ending trees before you, an old hobbit awaits rescue, or doom.
So this line of dialogue does feel like something that you would have only gotten if we unlocked this character, and this character seems to be a very good character to have unlocked. So it does seem like there's a small bit of preparation from level to level. But maybe not. I mean, if this is the end of the whole part of the quest, then effectively the story very well may have told you that you freed the man Willek anyways after you defeated all the enemies. So that gives me arguably a pathetic amount of fellowship points, but maybe it will unlock the Will Elk card, and certainly there is an argument to start to improve the deck building. Maybe make a copy of the starter deck and think about what we really want to focus on. Instead, what we've unlocked is Honeycomb as a card, which is really smaller than the way it's being depicted here. Obviously it should be at least as big as this whole orb. You could have put this text at the top. There is just a lot of empty space overall throughout this resolution on the screen. This was a reward around using the fate system. We could have gotten it that way. So we get 200 points for each of the challenges. We didn't, but it doesn't tell you what the challenges are. Complete the quest with every hero in play. Play 6 events for each player. Event cards for each player. So did I not do that one? I guess I didn't. I don't even know specifically how I could have played 6 event cards for each player. Have 7 characters at play at the same time for each player. In a lot of ways, this seems like these almost are random challenges. Some of them do. We avoid triggering any location-specific threat events, and we did use Sting to defeat 6 enemies. Overall, that gave us 600. We could have gotten 1,000 fellowship points from that. is also weird that we're at like 4,225. Then we get 500 points for each new hero. Okay. And now we have a second completion reward for another 1,000 points, and a third completion reward for another 1,000 points, which I guess that's what we would want to do. The only slight difference here would be maybe if you wanted to run up to this point and then try and find that honey card and just look at it. Here it is, honeycomb. Choose to remove pursuit from every enemy or restore 2 health to 1 character, which that does seem like this is a valuable card potentially to have, since it gives you 2 options. And I wonder if that's the trick here, is that just doing the story will eventually unlock all these cards that they're asking money fellowship points for, and that would solve the looming threat, not in the game but in the interface here, of potentially having to spend 50,000 fellowship points to unlock a hero. I also wonder, and we need to pay attention to this, we know it's 23 pages, but is it 23 plus with only 1, or are we getting extra cards added? Because it could be either. So we'll need to come back next time we unlock a card and check on that and see if we are unlocking a new character. The battle deck, the explorers deck, the Shadow Reaches deck all create a different situation as far as that. There is a problem with just the heroes that are overlapping. I need to make a deck that has no overlap at all. So let's see if we can do that real quick. Deck builder, pre-built. So explorer's deck, copy, and then copies of explorer's deck. We want to get rid of this hero, so the move would be to
Few things I hate more than
do that.
orcs.
And that's probably something they should have just done for you as you unlock the characters, or have you unlock more decks, because it is a weird situation here where this character is the same as this character, and this is probably intentional, and then this character is the same as this character, and this character is the same as this character, so you have only one new character here, and then this character is the same as this character, and this character is the same as this character, so you only have one new character here. And without doing anything else, just changing out the hero for one of the same type of the 4 different types really wouldn't make you change anything else.
After arriving at Beyond's Hall,
So we've got a little bit of time here. Let's just jump in here and see how fast we can actually go through this.
At your service.
Like, how fast can you really go through all of this with let's give it a surge and surge and keep everything else. We didn't really look at this character. They have a counter, gain protect after triggering defense, limit once per round. So you put this on guard mode. So by putting that in guard mode, I didn't take any damage at all. Okay. Good to figure out. Ready after defeating an enemy. It's a special. Cancel the next. Damage. Okay. So again, we're just really protecting our character very well. So now this can kill that, and then that will ready it. Apply to progress on arrival. Let's see what that does.
I bring news from Rivendell.
Block.
We'll not be taken by surprise.
See, I don't even know if it's really worth it to get rid of Watchful Eye. Probably is worth it to keep your health somewhat safe.
Rivendell!
But all this can do is that. All this can do is that. Interesting. Did I need to defeat everybody, or could I have just... Yeah, I don't know if I made more progress because I defeated everybody or not.
Cocoon has dropped.
But
No, funny too. This creates a whole situation where the best possible scenario is to always put this on defense as your first move, which does definitely create a situation where you're in a nice position. Always, you just are going to do the same thing over and over again. That is definitely the danger of a deck building game that has only 100 cards. Everything is just gonna boil down to a really, really simple solution for everything.
For Rivendell!
So yeah, it's gonna become incredibly brain dead.
Let's do this!
And that's not even really getting to like the super complicated stuff. Like the real complication is gonna start to show up when I find like one card that synergizes with another card that synergizes with another card. And I probably should do something here, but it's actually just really simple just to
For
put in.
Rivendell!
Yeah. We could keep on playing. I could play cards. I could try and heal. But yeah, at that point I can't do anything more. And I don't
The
think
dead
you
tree
just get
falls across the stream with a
full
splintery
healing here. But it does seem like we've just kept the exact same cards and we've kept the exact same everything else. A watchful peace. So we've just got this now. Let's see, we could put a guard character, we could reduce that. I mean, we kind of can do everything, so put a guard character up. I gave him a massive amount of points. Okay. So there's nothing else to do, you just start attacking. We may not win this turn, but almost certainly win the next. See, I can resolve this, and then it will re-ready me. And so I can then attack for 2 there. And I can attack for 0 there. Basically nothing needs to be done. Again, just put this guy in defense mode. and it's just straight up attacking. Let's see. Exhaust the next enemy that enters play? Sure. Let's see, if I was to play this, I'd have to replace something, and there's just no reason to replace anything. Unless we were trying to end with full health, which there's just not really going to be that. There is a slight problem, and I may have to replace something, come to think of it. Because we've got a lot of guys here that have one attack, and this has protect. So let's just go ahead and get rid of this guy.
Has the trail gone cold?
Bring out stealth to somebody else. The way these resolve and look still don't really work well. I don't like the animation around it. Just double check. Stalwart block. Block means -1 every attack. So we would have to attack this guy. Should have put that in defense mode, actually. Favor of the lady would be about the only thing we could do, or we could do this too, but do we need to do any of that when we can just go ahead and attack here and win? Just
My eyes see everything.
do this. +1 there, I guess. No. This is an attachment here. Do this. So I'm really just kind of goofing off here. We could certainly do this. And maybe that'll work towards an achievement. 12 of 12. This would unlock a bear. This would discard 1 random shadow attachment. So to exhaust up to 2 spiders. This is 1 character. Let's just travel and end at 12 of Fate and see if maybe there's an achievement for that.
Before the monotony of the forest claws at you again, you come upon a sudden clearing. The sluggish breeze and 1 grey light of the dell are a welcome change from the humid twilight of the forest. On the far side of the clearing, you spy what you've been looking for. A group of large spiders hovering over a tightly wound cocoon.
I don't remember this
it's time
section.
for a rescue.
I thought I was done with the entire event, but I guess maybe not. Final encounter, defeat 6 enemy units or defeat every enemy in play. Okay. And we could grant +1 health to every spider, which I don't know why I would want to summon a spider. Or we could exhaust up to 2 spider units, which that's probably not a terrible thought. So let's exhaust this guy and this guy. And then we have glowing, which we need room for. And I just don't think we need to do any of that. Like, I think you just let him hit you at this point. Yeah, I think you just do this. And then say this. And see, we could now throw something out. Well, actually, let's just summon glowing.
We do not escape the shadows of these times.
And then we should just win there. And then we have to make room for our guy with stalwart.
I can help with that.
This guy's exhausted too. So let me just see how much I have to do for stalwart. Yeah, stalwart only gives you 2 attacks extra. We need to defeat 3 enemies. There's literally 4 on the field. So just go for either the heavy hitters, this one, which we could do, kill 1. Yeah, I think that's about all we can do, so it's probably our best move.
One like a grocer there, burglar.
Rivendell!
Okay. Would I want to summon something else? I mean, you could replace a 0 with a 2. Replace this character. Who has a restore upkeep of 1. Or you could just put this character in defense mode. And not do anything else. Now his ability to heal could potentially have been a problem, but I don't think it is. I think every single time I go first, once again you just set that to defense mode. Let's see. Restore 1 health to every hero, character, or 4 to a hero. I think you probably are better off doing this after we take on the guard people. Come to think of it. kill this. No, you gotta go against the guard people again. Alright. So let's do this now. Who has the most attack? This one does.
Passes unnoticed.
Okay. Should we just try and win by doing this?
Rivendell!
Or should we goof around some more and see if Sauron's gonna do something else? I guess we should have...
The lady and her brood are
Now in
gathered
that
at the
case,
edge of their lair.
my character died right
Band
at the
of
last
orcs and
second there.
goblins have emerged from the trees.
So,
Some heave empty wagons.
I don't know if I'm gonna
Others
get the
carry
quest
After
of
recovering,
having 7 characters at the end. Although I don't know if that was really the challenge either. So we get a second completion reward of 1,000 fellowship points. Do we get 1,000 fellowship points every time we do it, or until we've done it 3 or 4 times and then no more? So, these 6 event cards for each player. That is phrased weirdly because I'm wondering if that means fate and threat events between me and Sauron. Because it may mean that. But once you kind of know, once you kind of know what the quests are, it does seem like you kind of know what to do at that point too. So I would assume for each player just means if you were playing co-op, it has to be, the challenge gets twice as difficult at that point, that both co-op players have to do it. Not that Sauron also has to have 7 characters at play, because I don't believe he did have 7 characters at play at any point in this run. So that gives us 800 fellowship points. And then we got 500 for that character and 500 for that character. But weirdly not 500 for the other character. So what did I mess up on that? Ooh, yeah. I must have made a copy of the Explorer's deck and removed this guy when I needed to remove both of those. So we'll go and fix that. Yeah, it definitely seems like doing it a 3rd time gets you 1,000 fellowship points. But that's it. Plus whatever is locked behind here. Which we do have a new player avatar. So we could play with that also, but it's not much. Did we unlock a new card this time? This character is the book style character, so without changing anything, you would just replace it with
I
that.
am commanded to slay all whom I find in this land.
You have to click to save. And then the prompt there really not showing you how to do anything different. What is going on here? We had 23 pages before, and now we're down to 18 pages. How? Like there's only 3 pages here, so 3 plus 18 would only be yeah, there's 23 pages in the deck builder, and there's 18 pages, I guess, of something else. So there is this weird difference. A friend in need, for instance. When I go to the deck builder, friend in need is there. I don't think we unlocked any new cards, but maybe we did. Well, it does seem like we did, because now it was 23 pages with just 1 card, and now it's 23 pages with several cards. Same is true here. I guess the question to ask here, since I don't have a attack style hero, let's find that symbol. There should be one style of hero that's not here. We have the blue, we have the purple, and we have the green. Blue, purple, green. Guess there isn't a 4th style of hero. Blue, leadership cards, lore cards, spirit cards, tactics cards. I believe in the tutorial, which would have been hours and hours ago, they told us to turn off the tactics filter. And it just turned it off, and it's been off this whole time. Wow. So then that brings us to 30 cards, and we're going to have to start all over again just to figure out, just make sure everything here is checked under the all buttons. Whether 30 with 3 stays the same or doesn't. We're having some real indicators that it probably doesn't. Doesn't stay the same, and we will be unlocking more cards. In the same way that Sauron's gallery here is slowly expanding as we go through boss battles, like Curios here. This would have been a single player narrative card. That being said, I still don't really feel like there's going to be too many of these enemies or these types of cards. Well, that is weird to say the least. We still have yet to find anything that feels like it would give us enough fellowship points to justify purchasing like these avatars for 1,000 and unlocking these frames for 1,000. We're spending 1,000 to unlock emotes, which are absolutely useless for the game now because there's no multiplayer, so you won't ever use the emotes. Or spending much more than 1,000, 10,000 to unlock card backs, some of which say they're coming soon, and I hope that just means that they will unlock any narrative story through completing quests. Otherwise, that just means they promised this and then never delivered on it, which I wouldn't be surprised if that's exactly the case also. Which that inherently makes the usage of the fellowship points kind of useless. Like, there's just not a good way to keep the player spending with any real frequency. So now you're just going to, I'm going to effectively just have the, there is a campaign overall reward. Maybe that would be a massive amount of fellowship points. But yeah, I'm not being pushed towards the idea of going to the store and spending fellowship points. I'm not earning enough to justify that, so everything is going to be heavily dependent on just whether or not I get 100,000 or at least 10,000 fellowship points for doing the entire campaign. There are 3 campaigns. If you gave me 100,000 for each of those 3 campaigns, then I could probably afford a reasonable way to unlock all the cards. Otherwise, we're going to go through all the single player content, which is the only real content in this game since nobody's playing it online, and then still not have unlocked all the cards. And certainly, even in almost every way, it feels like unless the Lord of the Rings adventure card game does not exist in the real world, which I doubt, I'm almost certain it does, or unless it is extremely expensive and out of print, it would just make so much more sense to buy the game in the real world, have all of the cards unlocked, hope that there was some kind of storybook as far as missions and narrative explanations as far as how you would play. But honestly, you don't really need that because you could just recreate the events in the Lord of the Rings book yourself. But yeah, even if it cost you a little bit more, even 3 or 4 times as much to buy expansions for the deck building game of Lord of the Rings adventure card game, you would have all the cards from the beginning instead of this digital version trying to add a grindy aspect to it that does not make sense in deck building. I really should have all the cards unlocked to begin with. Maybe you could say at the end of each campaign 1 special card unlocks, but even that's probably too much because these campaigns obviously are very long. And yeah, it took me about 30 minutes, I would say, to do the first run, and it took me about 30 minutes to do the second run. So the dialogue isn't slowing us down by that much, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Anyways, we'll do quest 2, which I assume just moves the story forward. And in the next episode, that's going to be it for this one. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to support me further, there's a link down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.